All right, so content. Content. Content.
The key thing that I want to discuss is just how being a DJ shaped me. There's a part of me that wants to romanticize all the cool shit that I've done and discovering that I could make a go out of making unpleasant noises and playing other people's music, but that's not the point of these essays, at least not entirely. There's a side that has, for better or worse, compounded the part of me that is always in flux, always in progress. Gone unchecked, that darker side has affected my mental health. As Americans, we talk about mental health and art liberally, expression and effect, and we should extend this courtesy to hip hop, which is not always the case.
A few years ago, I wrote this chapbook called Last Night Being a DJ Saved My Life. I'll put a download down in the description. It's basically the story of how I got back into DJing and actually why I left it to begin with. To write something like that was pretty difficult. You have to allow yourself to be vulnerable. I had to allow myself to be vulnerable, and that's not really a strong suit of mine. But I also had to be honest, and so in writing it, it helped me rediscover my love for DJing. Most recently, I was revisiting sort of the themes from the chapbook, chiefly because a lot of the insecurities from when I quit the first time around started to come back. Which is not to say that nobody deals with this. I'm sure a lot of people do, a lot of DJs I'm sure do, which kind of brought me to this video. 3 years ago, going into the lockdown and the pandemic, I saw a lot of my gigs dry up, which, rightfully so. Public safety is paramount. And slowly, as places started to open back up and I started to get bookings again, I erroneously thought that I would be able to pick up where I left off. And that wasn't quite the case. Although I have made much greater strides this time around than I had before. But the fact of the matter is, being a DJ means you inherently are born into competition. And when you look at the social media scoreboard, it can light your insecurities on fire. Being a DJ in 2022 and 2023 means that you have to be your own marketing machine. You have to be your own agency. You have to be an entrepreneur on top of being the person who gets the party started. And having a damn near encyclopedic knowledge of every song that's out there right now. The weight of this can crush someone's ego. I wanted to know if there were other DJs who felt the way that I did. So I reached out to some of my contemporaries and talked to them about what it means to be a DJ in these current times. So the thing that kind of spurred this idea that I had for this video was actually is directly from one of the last videos that you did, one of the last longer form videos, where you talked about if we're heading into a recession, how to sort of protect yourself. The other side of that got me thinking, because you started off talking about making yourself known on social media. One of the things that I have sort of an inherent problem with is because I do that for a living. And so when it comes to DJing personally, I think I tend to slack on it because I spend so much of my waking hours working on it. I don't want to be a content creator DJ. I just want to be a DJ. And that kind of in my head, it kind of clicked as can those two things be separate nowadays? Or are we talking about things that are one and the same now?
I think from the perspective of someone that as yourself that does social media and for a living, it really, to me, it really depends on where you want to take your DJing. Do you want to make it more of a career? Do you want to make it more of a business? And if so, then you got to, as much as you want to separate church and state, you kind of have to realize the business aspect of it, where if you're going to make it a career and you're going to make it some form of significant income in your life, then you have to put in the time and the work and the effort to market yourself. And now the number one tools for creatives across the board has to be social media. I mean, of course it's free as far as compared to paid traffic, like running ads or something like that. That's where the most eyes are compared to things like television or, print ads or anything like that. So if you're going to be serious about making DJing part of your career in any aspect, I think that it's really important to make it somewhat of a focus and at least have a strategy of some kind. You don't have to become a content creator DJ. When you look at the numbers, there's way fewer of us content creator DJs compared to like regular working class, DJs that just grind and get a bunch of gigs and just do like, head to the ground and just kind of push on and keep going. But the further we go on, if you look at where we were with social media maybe 5, even 10 years ago, it's become more important every single day and like every year. Like, yeah, I know it feels like, oh God, there's another thing I have to add, but I think that every person can figure out some type of branding strategy that'll work for them and that can help them achieve whatever level they want to get to.
I think, I think the best thing is also maybe take a step back and like even before even talking about social media, it's like, what are your goals? What are your intentions? Because you just want to like DJ, you don't need a phone or you don't need an account. You can just DJ in your bedroom, in your garage, in your home, or DJ around town at smaller venues. Again, just because you are on social media and you're making content, you're getting all these metrics and likes, that still doesn't mean anything really. Like you could still be, I guess you could still have like a ton of followers and a ton of like likes and the algorithm is really favoring you one day or for a while. But if you don't really know how to turn that into a career or into money, if you want to, that's almost like it happened and that's it. I think it kind of relates to what you're saying about the art and the pretentious. I think it's even a little more than that, or it's something else. It's just the joy creating and the joy being creative. So I think make that your first thing and go from there. But it's hard. It's always extremely easy. It's almost like a given to be comparing and despairing and all that stuff.
I speak about this with other DJ friends of mine that DJs are serial complainers about everything, right? Like we love debating about music. We love debating about, do we like playing on like CDJs or turntables or what software we use? Like it's always an endless debate. It's always an endless argument about something. And especially with the internet and comment sections, anywhere you go, it's going to be an echo chamber of negativity if you let it get to you, right? Yeah. And the best advice that I could give is that like, who really cares about anyone else's like negative opinion if it's pushing you somewhere forward, pushing you somewhere positive, and you're not hurting anyone or you're not doing anything like hateful or negative with what you're doing, then what does it really matter? Like if it's going to get you to the next level and you're doing it from a genuine place where you want to share your art, you want to share something like positive, why not do it?
But it reminds me of like whenever I try to compete in the DMC or the ITF, where I don't see how I could ever measure up to these people who are successful. And you're right, like a lot of it should just be based on the fact that prior to opening up that app, I'm fine where I'm at, I'm like, because I'm still doing it for fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're talking about enjoyment. That's also a thing because again, you can be. I mean, it's really perspective because if I look back, I think about this a lot. Like where I was at my most miserable as a DJ at a time where I think a younger version would be like, "Oh my God, like I can't believe you're doing this. Like you do this for a living. You've been, you've traveled to other countries and you've had great, amazing DJ A, B, and C. I'll play your edits and you've opened up for this and that. It's all really relative. So I think that's the most important thing. And when I said like zooming out and zooming back, it's all contextual.
I think one of the good things that King Most talked about are about goals. What are the goals that you have? What are the goals that I have? When I go back to Last Night Being a DJ Saved My Life, one of the last chapters talks about how at that point, and this is, I guess, 5 years ago, all I wanted was to DJ twice a month. And since then, I've surpassed that a few times over on many months. The thing about goals is that it's a lot like you as a person. It has to change, it has to grow, it has to evolve. You know, sometimes that means taking less and sometimes that means taking more. Does that mean that I want to play out more? Does that mean that I want to work on mixes more at home? It changes and I have to be okay with that. In this DJ game, there's a lot that we don't talk about and probably should. We should probably be open to having these conversations about goals and insecurities and the things that kind of make us tick. Like P.2 said, DJ culture is inherently complaining, but I also think that that opens up the door to have a much stronger community when you think about people as your peers and reaching out instead of just being like, well, fuck that guy, I'm gonna take that spot, because that doesn't really do anybody any good. Or at least in my mind, it doesn't. You're stomping somebody out to get a fatter wallet, but at the same time, like, you don't know what you're putting that other person through. You don't know how much less time you're giving yourself. I know that these are sort of weird things to talk about, but I think they're important. So going into 2023, what are some of your goals? What are some of the things that you're excited? What are some of the things that you want to change about DJing? Sound off in the comments below. Once again, I want to thank you guys for joining me. Shout out to DJ P.2 and King Mos for taking a few minutes to talk to me. I'm sure in no time we'll be back to our usual fun, silly videos. And once again, you can keep abreast of my goings on here at ryanfresh.com. Catch me on all the socials. And yeah, that's it for now, and I'll catch y'all later. Peace.